to Ms. Denton.
All right. Well, thank you, Angela, and thank you, everybody, for coming on your Friday night. Unfortunately, I know you're not going to be able to make a Friday night baseball game or football game or movies, but so thank you for joining me tonight, and I hope you do get a lot of information out of the presentation. You're welcome to ask questions. We're going to start first with a little bit about College Foundation. You're probably all familiar with the name, but we've been around for about 20 years now as a website, and we're here. Let me see. Okay, you can hear me now, Angela? You're okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so we've been around for about 20 years to make sure that as a service to North Carolina students, we're charged with the state of North Carolina to make sure that we can help our families in meeting any type of educational need. So these 6 folks here in this little wheel make up the information that we provide on College Foundation's website. I work directly for College Foundation Incorporated, but the University of North Carolina system, the community college system, as well as the independent colleges are all a part of us. And of course, you make up us too, because you're a member of DPI. You're at a public high school in North Carolina, so you make up part of CFNC as well. And then the money folks in the state is the State Education Assistance Authority, and they're the folks that make sure we give you grant funding in North Carolina and some other scholarships to afford your college education. And our slogan at College Foundation is helping you plan, apply, and pay for college. So we're going to walk through some of these particular resources and features under each of those tabs as we go through the presentation. We're here to serve North Carolina, and we want to make sure you know that whatever we do is completely free. We share on our website all the 111 colleges in North Carolina, their applications. As a platform to hold them, we don't charge those institutions anything to have their applications for admissions on our website. Now, they, of course, can provide and charge you an application fee, but the neat thing about it, some of the private colleges especially don't charge application fees anytime around the year if you're applying through CFNC. So that's the pretty neat thing. And we are, College Foundation is the only way that a student can apply to one of the 58 community colleges in the state in an electronic format that's on our website. Because you are a member of the public high school sector, you can send your electronic high school transcript as a senior to any of the colleges in the state. We provide a wonderful financial literacy tool, and we're going to look at that in more detail. It's called Financial Basics for High School and Beyond. And this is Financial Literacy Month, April. So what better time to go ahead and complete your Financial Basics course. It's open for any student 9th grade and up. And we have scholarships on our website. Again, all the colleges, and we're going to have all the career resources free to you on our site. We know that a lot of students in our state, depending upon the type of college that you're applying to, may not have to come through CFNC to actually submit their applications to college. But we know that you're going to have to create a CFNC account for other reasons. And here are the reasons why before you graduate, you will have to have an account with CFNC. The number one reason is this third bullet point, the residency determination service. So when you become a high school senior, before you apply to any of the colleges in North Carolina, you will have to log in with a CFNC account to complete what we call your residency interview. And I'll give you more information about that in the next 2 slides. If you're applying to college during the college application week, which is in October of your senior year, you have to come through CFNC to get the fee waivers for those colleges. And again, I mentioned the community colleges. And if you want to send your electronic transcript for free, you have to come through CFNC. So as a high school senior, these are going to be 4 big things that you do with College Foundation in order to graduate and move on to your next step of a North Carolina college. Speaking of the transcripts, I want to make sure, I don't know where and what grades all of you are in right now, but if you're a junior progressing to the next grade level of a senior, let me just make sure you understand more about how the transcripts work. The transcripts are housed with DPI because you are a public high school student. We don't have the transcripts on CFNC's website. So when you come out to CFNC under what we call your application hub, you have the option to submit applications and you have the option to request your transcript. When you request your transcript, it's an official copy coming from DPI, just as if your school would print out a copy. It's an official electronic copy that will be delivered to the college within just a matter of seconds. Depending upon the time of the year, it could be a matter of 2 to 3, 4 days, but otherwise we're delivering it to that college within just a matter of a few seconds. We send 2 transcripts. At the point you request your first transcript, we're going to deliver that instantly. And then when you graduate, when you finish with all of your coursework and all of your grades are posted in PowerSchool, 10 days after you graduate, we go out and we grab that final transcript and deliver it to any of the colleges that you initially requested, if that makes sense. The good news is this: if you need to send a mid-year transcript, let's say you've applied to a college and the college says, let's say January, February, that they'd like to see your courses and your grades as of December. So if those grades have been posted mid-year, you can come back into College Foundation and request a mid-year transcript. That's the luxury about us, that you can request a transcript at any time. Once you request your transcript and it is successfully submitted to a college, you have the option to view that unofficial copy. It stays on your record under the application hub, where you can come back in and look at it. We ask that students actually look at it after you've sent it, so you can verify that all the grades and the classes that you took are right. Once in a while, you may find that there's an error on your transcript because it could have been an error by data entry through PowerSchool from someone on behalf of your school, your data manager or teachers or whomever. So we ask that you look at it just to make sure it's correct after it has been successfully delivered. If it's not correct, guess what? You can get it corrected and resubmit that transcript to that institution, so now they have the corrected data. So that's a really, really neat feature, and we send hundreds of thousands of transcripts every year from our high school seniors. Let me make this note before I continue. Let's say that you graduate from Havelock and you move on to a community college, or you move on to a 4-year school, or you move on to a job. And it's 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, and you're deciding now that you're going to transfer to another institution, or that you're going to finally decide to go to college. You can still come to CFNC and request your transcript to be delivered. Though you're not currently a student, it does not matter. Because you are on the PowerSchool system, you can come back years later after you graduate and request your transcript to be delivered to any college in the state. So that's pretty neat. So remember that. It's not just for your graduating year. You can do it for as long as PowerSchool stays as the official grading system and the academic record system. You'll be able to request your transcript. Okay. So I mentioned RDS earlier. If you are a high school senior by chance on the call tonight and you haven't done RDS, then you know you have to do this. And the reason why you have to do it is, number one, the public institutions in our state, so those 16 UNC campuses and the 58 community colleges, they need to know whether you are a resident of our state so they can charge you appropriately the in-state tuition. We don't recommend students prior to the senior year to complete RDS. We prefer that you wait maybe the summer of your junior year, or as soon as you're beginning your senior year, go in and do RDS. You will receive what we call a certification number. It's an RCN, and that's for you to verify, and the colleges are going to verify whether you are an in-state student, an out-of-state student, and they're going to know then how to charge you and how to also make you eligible for grants in North Carolina. So this is super important while we have to have this in order for those colleges to come together with a financial aid package for you. So keep that in mind. And the other big thing for high school seniors, as we started the presentation, I just want to make sure I cover all these three. Every October, the past 2 years, I think we've moved it to October, we have what we call College Application Month, or now we're calling it Countdown to College. So we focus on 3 things that month. And we ask that your school counselors, we ask that your school administrators help you and push you to do these things to make it much easier for you in the college process. So number 1, we're going to push you to try to get that residency done. It's very important that parents are involved with the RDS, because most of the questions in the interview will be asked about your parents. And you're not going to know a lot of those questions. You should have no reason to know them. So we hope that you'll have your parents close by or some other adult in the household that can get the information for you. Number 2, we're going to make sure that we get you to complete that FAFSA. We're going to talk more about the FAFSA and financial aid in the next couple of slides. And thirdly, we're going to make sure, we hope that you're going to complete applications for admissions to college. This coming October, we've already set the dates and they're there on the screen for you. October 19th through the 23rd, we're having College Application Week. So for high school seniors, this is the time that a lot of the colleges in North Carolina are going to waive application fees. Not too many of the public UNC system schools waive the fees. Traditionally, it has been our historically Black colleges, universities, our HBCU campuses, but we have a lot of private schools waiving the fees too. As a matter of fact, the past couple of years, of the 36 private schools, we've probably had about 32, 31 of the private schools waive the fees for this 5 days of the month. So it's a great opportunity to save some money, certainly in the state of the nation that we're in anyway, and whatever methods that you can be saving money down the road as you're preparing for college. This is a great way to do it. Some of you, though, are not going to be able to wait until College Application Week to apply, because you're going to have other deadlines before this week. So you're going to make sure you need to apply and you know those deadlines. We're going to talk more about applications in just a second, but let's go ahead and talk about financial aid. This is not just for the high school seniors to know this information. If you are a rising junior, if you're a rising senior, you're going to need to know this. The more you can learn about financial aid earlier on, the better prepared you're going to be, and certainly the better prepared you're going to be to help your parents understand the process. You cannot file the FAFSA until you are a graduating student from high school and planning to go to college. FAFSA.gov is the place to go. It's the free application for federal student aid, and it's going to be the document, the form that you complete to be considered for any federal funding or any monies from the state of North Carolina. The monies that we give you at College Foundation, we're going to have you to fill that form out first. This is kind of a screenshot, a look of the form. It's changed in the past 2 years, so this is a new look. And before seniors and families can complete the FAFSA, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to get what we call your FSA ID, your Federal Student Aid ID. The student's going to need the ID, and then at least one of your parents. If it's a 2-parent household, only one of your parents will need to get an ID. Why is the ID so important? Number 1, it's going to help you log into your FAFSA. Number 2, you need to sign your FAFSA, because of course you can only do that electronically. you're going to have to sign your FAFSA using your IDs. At the very end of the application, that's the way you submit your document for the government to process. So those are the web addresses there for you to use when you get to that point. I mentioned October 1st. The good thing now about the FAFSA, families don't have to be in such of a rush to do their taxes from the previous year, because the government asked for 2 years ago tax data. We call it in the financial aid world prior tax data. So here's the example I gave. If you are a rising senior, so you're going to be planning to graduate in the fall of 2021, then your family will use 2 years prior to your year of enrollment. So we, of course, in this case, it's going to be the 2019 taxes. Whatever taxes they do for this past year that everyone has been working on, that's the tax information your parents will use, and you will use if you work and you made money, that you're going to have to provide on the form too. Make sure that you know, and you're going to work on now, if you are a rising junior or if you are a rising senior, you start understanding what some of the deadlines are that your colleges are going to ask you to have that FAFSA completed. You may find that some of the more selective colleges and the larger colleges, they're going to say, hey, I would prefer you have that form filled out by November 1st. I may need you to have that form filled out before December 1st. And there are many reasons why they do that. But the biggest reason is, number one, they want to make sure that they know that you've completed it and that they can consider you for any aid that that institution may be able to award. So it's very important that you know those deadlines and don't miss those deadlines, not just for the first year that you're entering college, but for every other year. I've had some friends, personal family friends, that have had children to go to college. And one of the greatest examples I give is a student that went to ECU. And like the first year of her college at ECU, she got like a $3,000 grant from the institution. And she filled out her FAFSA by the time frame that ECU said fill it out. And then the next year of college, when Morgan was going back for her second year of college, unfortunately, mom and dad waited too late to fill out the FAFSA, and it was past the deadline or the time frame that ECU preferred. So when they got their financial aid package, Morgan's mom called me up and was like, Amy, I don't understand it. Why is her financial aid package so different from one year to the next? And I had to ask her, you know, what did she get from one year? What did she get this year? And what was missing was that $3,000 grant from ECU. So I told her, I said, you might want to double check with the institution, but I bet you the reason she lost it is because you did not file that FAFSA by the time frame that ECU said file it. So that's how much flexibility and freedom they have to award the monies to students who fill it out in a timely manner. So make sure you're aware of that. Here's the second thing. When you go into your FAFSA, if you're a senior, you're going to see, depending upon the time that you enter the FAFSA, you're going to see 2 years listed. You may see the current academic year, but then you're going to see the next year. So you need to make sure that you're clicking on the right school year's form. So if you're going to be graduating, as the example of a rising senior, if you're going to be graduating in June of 2021, you need to make sure you're going to be working on the 2021 22 FAFSA, because that's the year you're going to be in college. That's the first year you're going to be a student at a college. So make sure you're always filling out the appropriate academic year, because if you fill out the wrong year, guess what? Nothing is happening to that information. The colleges could care less because they're going to see you're not even graduated yet. So nothing goes on with that FAFSA. It's just, you've just got some practice, basically. So make sure you're filling out the right form. And this is another, sometimes a misconception we have for students, that if they think they may want to go to the community college to begin with, and of course that's perfectly okay, and it's a very wise decision for a lot of students. Still try to get that FAFSA completed early in the fall. And just don't wait until the spring of the year, and let's say now, to start filling out your FAFSA if you're planning to go there in the fall. Fill it out even if you know that a deadline is not until much later. If you're going to go to your local community college, just have in your mind, and this is kind of tell students quite often and families, think of a lot of the things you're going to be doing while you're in high school, preparing for college, on holidays. So I always tell students, if possible, you know, by Halloween, try to have that FAFSA completed. By Thanksgiving, try to have all of your applications for admissions submitted. And again, many of you are not going to be able to wait to Halloween, and many of you are not going to be able to wait to Thanksgiving because you're going to have deadlines before then. But think of it as certain holidays, certain events in the year that you need to have things completed. Okay. I won't go into too many details on this. And again, I don't know if you're on the call today, if you're a current senior, but if you are a rising senior and you're going to be going through the process of the FAFSA, if by chance you are selected for what we call verification, and the federal government can select you for verification, or an individual college can select you for verification. First of all, know that you've done nothing wrong. It is the government's way of auditing themselves, or the state of North Carolina's way of doing an audit. So they need to verify if your file happens to be selected, that you have done everything that you have supposed to have done to make sure that information on the FAFSA is accurate. There may be an occasion or two, and this happens, that you did make an accident. Let's say you transpose some income data. So instead of you making $52,000 a year, you said that you only made $25,000 a year. Or instead of 4 people in the household, you only put 2 people in the household. That makes a big difference in your financial aid. So sometimes those things will have to be verified. If you go back in and you make a change to your FAFSA, the college is going to trust you, but only to a certain degree. They're going to want to make sure, why did you make this change? Or they're going to recommend to you, go in and make this adjustment so that we can have your right data. That third bullet point down, let me touch upon this really quickly too. In the FAFSA now, and it's been this way for about 6 years now, families have the option, if they file taxes, and remember from 2 years ago, if they file taxes and the data is sitting with the IRS, the government is going to prefer that you go out and use what we call the data retrieval tool to link and to bring in your information from the IRS directly into your FAFSA. It's going to shorten the time frame of you doing your FAFSA. It's going to eliminate any errors from you manually having to enter all of your income data. It's really going to be a big difference for you for many, many reasons. And it will cut down on your likelihood of being selected for verification if you do the data retrieval tool. Not all families are going to be eligible to do the data retrieval tool. It really depends on how you filed your taxes, if you filed your taxes, and 2 or 3 other pieces of data. But don't worry, the FAFSA is going to walk you through that when you get to that point. The biggest thing I want to make sure you understand, I saw this when I used to work in college admissions. I worked at Barton College for many years before coming to College Foundation, and I saw this happen a lot. Students would be selected for verification, and the colleges would send out emails, they send out letters in the mail telling the student that here's what I need to have you send back to me. I need this information from you in order to verify your data. But the student or the parent never reacted to those notifications. The colleges are only going to send you so many opportunities for you to react, and at some point in time, it stops. Nothing is happening to your financial aid form, the FAFSA, until you react to what they want from you. So just make sure you know that verification puts your financial aid processing on hold until you get all that information back to the college, okay? By the way, as I'm going through this, don't forget that if you have any questions, make sure you remember those or write those down, so maybe at the end we can address those. Angela, if we can open up for any questions. So once you've done your FAFSA, you do have the option to put up to 10 colleges on the FAFSA, and those colleges are going to receive the data. They're going to have the processed information, and then they're very soon after getting it, they're going to be making sure that they can provide you with the best financial aid package as possible. It's this time of year that colleges are actually awarding that aid. Many colleges have probably already done preliminary packages or estimated packages, but right now, and I would dare say that it probably began in late February or March, a lot of colleges are putting together these packages and notifying families and students of how much money they can get. The 4 types of financial aid that exist are grants and scholarships. They're the free monies. They're the free monies we hope you get to go to college. You have to go after the scholarships, but most of the grants may come naturally to you if you qualify. So that's a good thing. The 2 other types of financial aid, we call it employment. You've probably heard of like work study, having a job on a college campus, making some extra money. You get to choose whether you want that money to be pocketed and you spend it however you want. Or maybe you're going to say, you know, I need this money to be turned back over to the business office to help pay my tuition and fees and room and board. You have the flexibility to do that. And loans, of course, we all know that loans you have to pay back. And remember that every year you go through the process of filling out the FAFSA. It's just not a one-time deal. It's every year you file the FAFSA to ensure that you're getting the most money for your education. The federal government offers these types of programs. So maybe you're going to see these listed when it comes to your financial aid. Number 1 is the Pell Grant. You've probably heard of that. It's the largest federal grant program that our nation offers to students. And this year, it's upwards to about $6,300, close to $6,400 a year. So if you have a financial need as defined by the government can make sure the colleges give you upwards from $0 to that $6,400. Many students are going to qualify for all of it. Some students are going to qualify for none of it. And there's a second grant called the SEOG. That's a much smaller grant program, but at least the colleges do have the freedom to award that to students if they need it. Work study is a federal program. And then we have student loans. All students going to college have the right to borrow from the federal government, and that's what these loans are. The William D. Ford Federal Direct Lending Program is you're borrowing the money from the federal government. And the good thing about that is interest rates are going to be low. So take a look at what we've got there, what we call the subsidized and the unsubsidized Stafford loan. Right now, this year is sitting at 4.5%. We won't know what the interest rates may be for you until the summer prior to you entering college. The government doesn't release those rates until the summer right before the next academic year. And of course, your parents can borrow money too. Your parents would have to go through a credit check. You, the student, you don't go through a credit check. It's an automatic, it's just your God-given right to go to college that the government's going to let you borrow money. But keep this in mind. You do have caps. The government's just not going to let you borrow whatever dollar amount you want. So every year, you're going to have a cap on the amount of money you can borrow. As a first-time freshman, if you are still dependent upon your parents, you can only borrow $5,500. As a sophomore, $6,500. And then as a junior and a senior, $7,500 each of those years. So that's your cap. Once you become an independent student, and there are many reasons that you can become an independent student, you can qualify for much more, but that's a little bit more complicated and a lot of more details, so we won't go into all of that tonight. And here are the aid options from the state of North Carolina. When I mentioned earlier that we provide grants to students, we have 4 programs in our state, but we broke our programs down by the type of institution you're attending. So if you decide to go to any of our 16 UNC system schools, you can possibly get the need-based grant. If you're going to one of our 58 community colleges, maybe you're going to receive the community college grant. And if you're planning to go to one of our 36 private schools, the grant, though it's named a scholarship here, it's the same thing as a grant, you're going to get the North Carolina need-based scholarship. You do have to qualify based on your financial standing of your household. So that's going to be important that you know that. These are not automatic. You have to file the FAFSA and see if you qualify. The last program there is the lottery scholarship. If anyone in your family plays the lottery, then they're helping to fund the lottery scholarship. And the funding for this program is only given to students going to one of our public schools. So either the 16 UNC campuses or the 58 community colleges. The lottery money no longer goes to students going to the private school. Okay. Where else can you get money from the state of North Carolina? There are many different options. If you happen to be a foster youth, you've been in foster care, and the definition of the length of time for you being in foster care, as long as at one point in time you were in foster care for 1 day, you could qualify for what we call the North Carolina Reach. And this is an opportunity where students can get a lot of funding to help them support their school education. If you're not and you've never been in foster care, but you know somebody that may be, share this with them. Make sure they know that they have the options to go out to North Carolina Reach and get a lot of funding. The Golden Leaf Scholarship, that becomes available every year. And I can't remember, Angela, what the deadlines were on that. Do you remember when they were?
No, I don't.
I can't remember, but here's the website. So you can go out to cfnc.org Golden Leaf. Not all 100 counties in North Carolina qualify, but you are a county that does meet the qualifications. If you have a financial need and you have a certain academic component, you can apply for this program. Where else can you get money? We have a long list of scholarships on CFNC. I mentioned that earlier. There are 2 ways to get to that. The first way, cfnc.org/FA book. It's a hard copy book that we print and we mail to every high school in the state. So of course, you won't have access to that right now. So why not just look at the electronic version? The second way you can get to the long list of scholarships, it's about 85 different scholarships. I counted them just the other day. You can go to cfnc.org/scholarships. So make sure you're looking at those. Don't wait until your senior year. If you are a 10th grader getting ready to go into your junior year, if you're a rising senior, check them out now. Keep a list of those to make sure you're on the right path. And the last program that I mentioned in North Carolina, this is a forgivable loan program. It's called the FELS for short, FELS. If you're interested in certain academic programs you're planning to major, like nursing, many other areas in the healthcare industry, if you are interested in being a teacher, but what we call our high need areas in the state, I read recently that North Carolina has a shortage of about 10,000 teachers every year. That's just mind-blowing. So we're funding students in North Carolina to go pursue these majors and these programs that we need professionals in our state. So we can provide to you funding to help you get that education, but the agreement we want from you is if you stay in North Carolina and go to work in whatever the profession is that we gave you the funding, the money you don't have to pay back to the state of North Carolina. So it's forgiven. It's totally wiped off. So you think about that and go to this website and take a look at the long list of majors. The FELS program is open every year, I think December 1st, and it ends on March the 1st. Another great thing about this program, and I have students to do this all the time, my niece did this. She applied for it the first year and she didn't get it. She was a transfer student from the community college to Barton College. This was years after I left. And she didn't get it the first year, but she applied the next year and she got it. So you can reapply for this every year. If you don't get it, reapply the next year. So we're hoping that we can support you in your education and you stay in North Carolina to go to work for us. I want to cover this really quickly because we've been asked to cover this. We brought back at College Foundation last year a private loan to North Carolina families. So what I mentioned to you earlier were loans from the federal government, but we offer loans to students and parents that models very similar to the federal loan route. We don't carry any fees. However, the federal government has fees on their loans. We don't even have fees that we charge you up front. Interest rates are going to be similar. For the parents, we actually have a lower interest rate than the federal government, and we meant that to be the case, and we're always going to have a lower interest rate. Anybody who has a North Carolina connection, so you could be a North Carolina resident coming to one of our schools, or if by chance you have family members out of state, but they want to come to a North Carolina college, that's all the connection we need. So as long as there's a North Carolina connection, students can apply for this. And here are the interest rates compared to the federal government. So look at the first line there, the parent assist. Just a 5.25 percentage points. For right now, this year, it's over 7%. And for the student, it's 5.75, and look at the government rate. That's why for the students, we always recommend that you go the federal loan route first, because there's so many better options as far as a repayment, and there's so many other options that you can go through in the end and have a less interest rate.
So just a minute, Ms. Stigton. We have a student that raised his hand, Cameron.
Absolutely.
Cameron raised his hand.
Sure.
Let me see if I can find him real quick. Cameron, can you unmute yourself?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Okay, you unmuted.
Oh, okay, Cameron. Were you just waving at me? I'll wave back. Thank you, Cameron.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. So this is primarily for your parents, for you to know that if, when it comes time for you to be finalizing your financial aid and you're thinking, how am I going to afford whatever the balance is the college is charging me? Know that you have other options. Even if you exhaust your loan options from the federal government, you still have the option to come to the state of North Carolina, which would be College Foundation, and think about borrowing for us. I will tell you this though, the credit score rating that you would have to have for a North Carolina Assist loan is going to be higher than what the federal government requires. Our requirement is a 700 credit score rating. So if a parent has 700, then he or she can borrow from us. If you wanted to borrow from us one day and you don't have a 700 credit score, that's okay. As long as you got a co-signer, meaning someone else who did have a 700 credit score, then you're free to borrow from us in North Carolina. We have a lot of graduate students right now borrowing from us because they're able to get more funding, and it's in North Carolina. We are the servicer, we are the nonprofit lender in North Carolina, so we think we have a lot of people trusting us to help them with their education. So the scholarships, we're going to move on to something big here that I know that you're all waiting for information on. You cannot wait, and I'm going to stress this, and I know all your school counselors have stressed this over and over again. You cannot wait until your senior year to start doing searches for scholarships. You have to do this process early. I recommend when I'm in classrooms, when I do presentations, that students as early as 9th or 10th grade jump on some of these national websites that I've given examples here. Jump on our state, jump on the CFNC website. Go to your school counselor or your school websites and counselor pages to see any of the locally based scholarships. So the four main types: local scholarships, scholarships that will be right there in the Craven County area. They could be like from the Lions Club. They could be from the local state employees credit union, wherever else they may come from. Usually your school counselors get the notification about those, and they may post on their bulletin boards, or may post somewhere else in their filing cabinets. So you have to be a little bit proactive to go ask for what they are. You can't imagine that your school counselors can touch every one of you to say, hey, Brandon, hey, Emily, hey, Cameron, hey, Susie, check out this scholarship. It's kind of difficult for them to do that. So you make sure you're reaching out to them to find out what's available. What could you possibly apply for? And most of those locally scholarships are available in the springtime. But you can still look at the ones maybe from the previous year, because they likely repeat every year. And think about it this way. If you need a certain grade point average to achieve and to apply for that scholarship, if you need a certain community service or leadership component, if you know about it 2 years in advance, you've got time to work toward that end goal to be able to apply. If you wait until the last minute, you may not have enough time to get the grades up, to get the right test scores, to have the community service component, whatever it may be. Go to our website, find out what scholarships your colleges may have. They can't reach out to every student that's applied to their institutions either. Many of them will have honors college programs like ECU, NC State, all the big name schools, and a lot of the private schools. They'll invite you to those, but if it's not a program similar to that where you receive an invitation, you're going to have to go out to look for them. So ask them if they're on your school's website or wherever else they may be. And go check out some of these big databases of scholarships. You can get on these as a 9th grader, 10th grader, doesn't matter. Go ahead and start looking for those scholarships now. The big one that I recommend is through College Board. You're all familiar with College Board. That's where you register for your SATs. Their scholarship database is through what we call Big Future. So you can go to bigfuture.org or just go straight to College Board and do your search for scholarships, and you're going to find it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you get on all 5 of these. I would certainly say get on College Board and maybe pick 2 others, because they're national scholarships. They're going to be repeating from website to website, okay? You got to make sure you're eligible. Before you start filling out applications, you can't fill out an application for a scholarship if you had to have a 4.0 grade point average if you only have a 3.5. You instantly may not be considered for that scholarship. So make sure you have the eligibility requirements so that you can apply. If you're prompted with any sort of like essay, make sure you're answering the prompt. You don't go off on a tangent and start talking about something totally unrelated to what they wanted you to talk about. Stay within the wording requirements. Make it personal. Dear Mrs. Johnson, or dear the scholarship committee at First Union Bank, whatever it may be. So make it personal. Tell your story. Look, for a lot of these colleges, and look, when I worked at Barton College, little bitty old Barton College, a private school, the best thing that I ever could tell about a student sometimes when they were on the borderline of admissions or borderline of a scholarship, I'd sit down one-on-one with them, and I'd want to know about that student. I'd want that student to tell me a story more than what I could read on a college application. I wanted to know who that student was and how well I thought that student could be when they came to Barton College. So that's what colleges are looking for. They can read your application and learn about you all day long, but they want to know sometimes more than that. So tell your story. Read the instructions, have someone proofread it, and keep applying every year. Just don't give up after the first year. Keep applying for scholarships. Have a calendar. Make sure you know when scholarships are going to open, when their deadlines are. Again, you can't stress this enough. Start looking now. That's going to be super important for you all. And let's walk through some of the transitioning. And again, I'm not sure where and what grade level you all are, But if you're prior to the senior year, as you're moving toward the senior year, these things could happen for you in 10th grade. These things could happen for you in 11th grade. Start thinking about your career options. Talk to your teachers. Talk to people within your churches. If you have no idea what you want to do, come to CFNC and take some of the career assessments we have. And once you have an idea, maybe 2 or 3, maybe you know what it's going to be, start searching for those colleges, and you can do this on CFNC, for those colleges that have your major. So now you've gone very broadly for career choices. You've narrowed that down, and now you can move from a very broad area, let's say 111 options in North Carolina. Now you're down to 5. These 5 colleges have my major. These are the 5 colleges that I'm going to consider applying for and pursuing my educational career. Visit the colleges. Of course, that's kind of tough right now. You can't do that, but a lot of them are hosting virtual college tours. Maybe schedule some for the upcoming year. Once they start posting open house dates or other private tours, take a look at those. Know your deadlines. A lot of you may have deadlines for applications as early as October 15th. And the early decision, I know early decision or early action. Early decision, if you apply early decision to any institution that offers that, you know that's a binding decision. So if you apply to Wake Forest University, as an example, for early decision, and you are accepted to Wake Forest, you're committing to going to Wake Forest University. So I tell families this: if you are very certain that's where you want to go, if you are very certain that financing that college education is not going to be a great concern to you, then apply early decision. But if you are not really sure that you're wanting to commit October 30th to an institution, or that you don't know what your financial package may end up being come the springtime of your senior year, maybe don't apply early decision. Don't put yourself in a binding agreement. So maybe you want to apply early action. You need to have these conversations with your school counselors too. I am not the one to make all the decisions in the state by any means, but from just prior experience, I've seen a lot of families in a transition time and very upset when they've applied a type of admissions deadline and could not meet the fulfillment of what they were committing to. If you haven't done so already, create your CFNC account, create that scholarship calendar. If you're not volunteering or taking some sort of leadership role in whatever capacity, whether it's in school, outside of school, in your church, in an organization that you feel strongly about in your community, find that place and do something good to show that you can help other people. Colleges like to see that. I know you hear it all the time, but I'm telling you, colleges really like to see that you're serving your community. And think about taking or retaking SAT or ACT. So the fall of your admissions of your senior year is the time for you to start doing the admissions. You need to attend your high school college fair, and let's only hope and pray come fall we're going to be back on a regular schedule where we can do that. And usually your college fair is in October. Plan those visits, complete your FAFSA, do your residency, start applying for scholarships if you haven't done so already. And that should be the time of really execution. You're doing a lot of the work. I know that's a lot on you, but that's the time for a lot of the processing to be done to gain admissions to a college. Winter should be a follow-up kind of, or a, have I done these things? Have you finished applying to all your colleges? Have I done my FAFSA and RDS? Are there more scholarships I need to apply for? And by spring should be the time that you should be relaxing a little bit regarding your college choices. Spring should be the time you're wrapping up your senior year, you're finishing strong with your grades. Have you done all the work you need to do to make sure your FAFSA can be processed in a timely manner? And by May the 1st, which is the National College Signing Day, are you going to be best prepared to make a decision for college? Do you have that financial aid package in hand that you know how much it's going to cost to go to whatever college you choose? Ask all the questions you can to make sure you're making the best decision regarding whatever your financial aid is, whatever your college choices are, your majors. And look, we threw in these two on the very end. Guess what? For some of us, as we go off to college, it may be for a very long time before we get back home and have a home-cooked meal. So eat all your home-cooked meals you can now. Maybe plan out those home-cooked meals when you go to college and learn how to do laundry. That was a big stepping stone for my niece, who was an only child, bless her heart. So much was done for her. It was a learning curve for her when she went off to college, and she had to start doing things on her own. So you make sure you're prepared too, even for the small things. Angela, are we good on time? It's about 6:54. Are we still good?
Yes.
One more minute?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I wanted to hit among the most important things, I think, up to this point. So from here on out, I want to make sure I cover some of the career pieces. No matter where you are in high school, no matter where you are, if indeed you have siblings that are younger than you, if they're 8th graders, 7th graders, whatever it may be, our career tools are here for you. And we're going to make a big transition in the summer when we move to a brand new look to CFNC. And this is where I want to sing hallelujah and everything else, because we're ready for a new look to CFNC. But right now, you're still going to have the same career resource functions going into the summer than what we are presenting you with tonight. So one of the first things we want to make sure you know is finding out the best career options for you, as I've already talked about. Two big things, and let me flip back. Two big things here through the North Carolina Commerce is what we call reality check, and then know before you go. The know before you go, this was a mandate from the state legislature that we provide on CFNC's website the top 30 occupations that have the strongest career prospects in our state through the year 2026. So that's just 6 years down the road. How do we project that most of the career pathways in North Carolina may need the largest employment? So here are some of the jobs. So you go out and check this, because maybe if you're not really sure what you want to do when you go to college, or you're not sure what you want to do as a career goal, you may see some of these and think, okay, hey, I know they're going to be in high demand, and I kind of like math. Maybe I can go into a career field that's higher in math or science, whatever it may be. So that's know before you go. The reality check, if this is the neatest thing in the world, I don't know what else is. It's the opportunity for you to really get a true reality on where you see yourself in the future based on your type of living standard. So the reality check, if you've never done this, play with this sometime while you're at home and getting your schoolwork done or just exploring college. It will map out for you how you plan to live, even where you plan to live. Because this is a North Carolina tool, we're going to ask you to pick an area of North Carolina. What type of vehicle do you plan to drive? Are you going to be married? Do you have children? What type of housing situation am I going to live in? Do I have an exuberant social life and I'm going to be spending a lot of money? So it's going to ask you all these questions, you answer them, and at the very end of the reality check, it's going to project for you that based on how you said you plan to live, you need to have this much money. And if you want to live this way of life and have this much money, then here are the types of jobs, let's just say in Craven County, that you must pursue to make that amount of money, to live that lifestyle that you want to live. So it's really, really neat. I have students who take it very seriously and they redo it because they think, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have answered that question that way. So you play with it a little bit too. I mentioned the career assessment several times tonight. There are 9 different options for you. You see on the screen there, number 1 through 9. Some of these are more popular and I'm going to walk through those now. If you have no idea what interest you have that's going to best project for you career pathways, maybe you want to take the interest profiler, or what we call the career key. The interest profiler is a little bit longer than the career key, but the whole point is this. If you've ever heard of the Holland codes, we call it the RESAC. It's 6 different interests that will type who you are and map out career pathways. Whether you are a realistic person, an investigative, artistic, enterprising, conventional, social, and it's going to suggest to you that, okay, here's the type of person I am, here are the types of careers that match who my interests are. So take a look at that, play with those. You may also want to take the career cluster survey. It really doesn't take you 15 to 25 minutes to do this like it says on the screen, but this is another way that will, instead of all over the board, like the interest profiler will tell you careers from all certain areas. The career cluster, because there's 16 in the state of, well, not the state of North Carolina, but there's 16 national career clusters. Maybe you're going to type 2 of them. Maybe you're going to fit into the law and public safety. Maybe you're going to be in the education career cluster. So it fits for you a very broad area of a cluster that's going to have jobs only related to the education field or jobs only related to medical field. So this will pinpoint for you a very broad area, and then you have specific careers underneath that. Try that one. Here's one we've been suggesting a lot when we've got a lot of media requests from our marketing company. So a lot of the news agencies have been contacting us to say, hey, what do you at CFNC recommend for all these students having to work from home now? This is a brand new ball game for all of us, even for those that work from home already, like I did, but still working from home 8 hours a day compared to being on the road half of that time. It's a big learning adjustment. So I've had to learn, how am I as an adult learning best and doing my work best while I'm here at home 8 hours a day? More than that, but on a work schedule. So maybe you need to take the learning styles inventory to get a better idea of how are you learning best in the environment that you're placed right now at home. Do I need to be in my bedroom? Do I need to be sitting upright at a dining room table? Do I need to have light really bright? Do I need to have music or the TV playing in the background? Whatever it's going to be that best makes you learn and to do your work as you're finishing out the school year, maybe give it a try. I think you may find that you want to adjust some of your learning style there at home. And the do what you are, this is a personality typing. This is a very detailed interactive type of exercise with you. We recommend it to middle and high school students, and it's going to map out, if you've ever heard before, the Myers-Briggs, your personality and how the type of personality you are can fit career goals. So maybe take a look at that too. And for all of those assessments I just mentioned, we have a total of 9, but I only showed you about 4 or 5 there. Once you get your list of careers, and this is an example on the screen of a chef, you're going to see the detailed information over on the left, like what does a chef do? Do you fit and do you have the skills needed to be a chef? What type of education am I going to need? How much money can I make? Real interviews with chefs across the nation that can give you a better idea of the responsibilities of a chef. There are over 2,000 career profiles in CFNC. So when you do those assessments and you get your results, you can have 100 of these careers. Maybe you're going to have 395. Whatever it may be, you're going to have 2,000 possibilities of career options that you can become one day. So explore them to the detail, and maybe this is going to help map out what you're going to eventually study when you go to college. Whether it's a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, maybe some of you are only going to need a certificate or diploma program from college. But nonetheless, you're going to be better educated if you go through these steps. Once you find out what you want to do, as I've mentioned already, you can explore those 111 colleges in North Carolina. You can set your own filters right here on the left-hand side. And we have a long list of different filters. And by narrowing down the filters, we're going to pinpoint for you on the map exactly where those colleges are located. And then the hyperlink to each college will be available for you to find out all the details about the institution, even the chance to apply straight from the college search feature. So that's pretty neat. And the last thing I'm wrapping up with, and it's at 7:03, you're not missing but 3 minutes so far of Jeopardy, if you like Jeopardy. My neighbor does. You can't communicate with her for 30 minutes because from 7 to 7:30, she's a Jeopardy watcher. So financial basics, I mentioned this early on. April is Financial Literacy Month. So if you're at home, you need something to do, you're going to learn, number one, from this course content about how to manage your personal finances. If you're planning to go off to college and you're not going to be at home where parents and other adults can help you make some financial decisions, maybe this is what you need to take to learn more about managing those decisions on your own. So it is a 15 mini course content on all different subjects, from picking the right insurance, should you rent or should you buy, and understanding mortgages, health insurance, how to manage student loans, how to buy a vehicle, all of these different topics. Many of them I wish that I had learned before I went to college, or many of them I wish I had learned before I took my first job. And the good thing about the Financial Basics course, we have worked with DPI and the career component of DPI to make this a CTE credential. So this year may be kind of abnormal, but otherwise students have to complete some sort of career credential to meet graduation requirements. So we have mapped the course content to make sure that you're being satisfied to meet, and I'm going to flip over real quickly, with DPI, the career and technical credential. And you'll get a badge, you'll get a certificate to show that you've met the requirement on behalf of the state of North Carolina. It's pretty neat. Teachers can suggest to you, like your CTE or your CDCs, that you take this course. They can just let you do it on your own free will, or they can set up what we call a teacher account and monitor your progress as you're going through the course. If they really want to hold you accountable for this, your teachers, even your school counselors, whoever at your school in an administrative type of level could create this teacher account to make sure you're doing what you should be doing. The best thing about it all, number one, you're going to learn from it. But number two, if you complete all 15 course topics, you can do this any timing that you want prior to May the 1st of every year. If you complete the course answering the few questions that we ask you, passing at least 80% of the questions, we're going to put you in a drawing for scholarships. We draw 2 scholarships every year after May the 1st. And even if you're a 10th grader, 11th grader, you can take the course and you could be selected to win one of these scholarships, and we hold the funding for you until you're ready to go to college. Another neat thing, guess what? You can reset your course every year and take it every year, even when you go to college. Reset it. You'll see that when you log in and create an account for yourself. This is totally separate from CFNC. Financial Basics is a third-party vendor, and it's just housed on our website. So it's a separate login that you will have to create to do the Financial Basics course. But you've got a chance to win money at this. And we even come out to your school to do a little award ceremony for those students who win. And lastly, I want to make sure this. We are on these social media sites. We have our own YouTube channel with a lot of videos that we're making right now, especially in the virtual world that we live, on financial aid, on admissions to college, Spanish services for our Spanish-speaking population, any and everything you can think about. We're gathering those types of videos to help you in the process. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then I am on Facebook and Instagram at Amy at CFNC. The at is spelled out, AT. So follow me if you like my page, and I'm trying to post things that I know that may be helpful for you or your parents and or your school teachers, your administrators, whatever that we think that can best guide you throughout the whole process of college, but certainly in the state that we live in right now with what's happening. We want to make sure that you're better prepared. So that is it. It is 7:08. And I've shared a lot of information with you in a somewhat quick fashion tonight, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Angela, do we want to open up for any questions, or as questions may come up that you can share later with me?
Well, if anybody has any questions, they can put it on the chat right now, or you can unmute yourself and ask. If you have any questions later, you can always email myself or Ms. Howard, and we can ask you and get back. So
That's perfect.
okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm hearing silence. I don't see anything on the chat. So I do want to thank everybody for coming out. I hope you got some of your questions answered, or maybe generated some questions you might have, you may think of later. Just let us know.
Sounds great. Thank you, Angela. And thank you, everybody, for being on the call tonight. Stay safe and stay well, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Okay, thank you.